Well, hey there, guys. I'm Axel the Beast of ZeldaDungeon.net, and I'm sorry there was no mailbag this week, but the reason for that was actually because there was this huge blowout of Skyward Sword and Zelda news in general on the site, and we didn't want to, have the mailbag in the middle of all that. There's been just a ton of news revealed about Skyward Sword and about Four Swords even, because the Zelda issue of Game Informer had finally arrived in, some subscribers' mailboxes. And there's also was the 3DS conference and just a bunch of other general promotional stuff. Now, I'm not going to go too into detail with some of this because I'll probably cover that on a mailbag, next mailbag, next week. But I am going to go over some of the notable points, and I'll be linking to the news posts and whatnot in the description, though keep in mind there could very well be more ones posted very soon. So definitely check out the main site of Zelda Dungeon and keep track of it. And be forewarned, if you really don't want to learn anything about this game, I am going to be going over a bunch of the news that we've heard, and there will be details about some of the stuff revealed, about gameplay stuff, setting stuff in the game. And so if you really want to have a lot of surprises, probably don't, watch this video. First of all, on Twitter, Nintendo of America indicated this is going to be a huge game. They've actually implied that there's going to be this is going to be like the biggest Nintendo game ever, or at least one of the biggest Nintendo games ever made, and that's not even restricting it to Zelda. That's Nintendo in general. I have no idea how serious that really is, or how accurate that is, but that's still pretty impressive. And they've indicated that there may be 50 to 100 hours of gameplay, and part of what's behind that is the fact that they've confirmed, or at least somewhat confirmed, a second quest. And it's interesting because it seems like they're going to have all the major new features that were added to Ocarina of Time 3D, which makes you think that, maybe Ocarina of Time 3D was a trial one, or maybe they just decided, people like those features, so let's throw them in. Because they've got the second quest / Master's Quest. It could be more like the Wind Waker, where there's just extra content, but I imagine it's going to be like a harder version of the game. So they have the second quest, they're going to have the boss challenge, which is awesome, and they're going to have, the visions to help people get through the game. So I guess that, plus the dowsing mechanic, which is where you hold out the sword and it beeps and tells you where secrets are, which is going to replace the compass in dungeons, apparently. The dowsing rod power of the Skyward Sword and the visions together probably pretty much makes up our, Skyward Sword's in-game help function that's been in all Nintendo games recently. They've also indicated, they've given a lot of hints on little details of things the enemies do and whatnot, and they're almost insignificant points on their own. I mean, it sounds kind of cool, but it doesn't mean much. But the thing is that altogether, a lot of them were just about, the Boko blends, and there were so many of these little things about them, and it indicates how much depth all the enemies and the game and combat in general are going to have. It really seems like all the enemies are going to just have so many details to them and do so much, and it's just going to be a very fascinating experience just playing the basic gameplay. And that goes along with the fact that they've really more strongly than before indicated that the overworld's going to be almost like a dungeon, almost like a fully challenging area. Or at least the land areas are going to be. It doesn't look like Skyloft or the sky areas are going to be as much, but in the land it looks like the game is going to be quite challenging. They've also given a lot of hints about the soundtrack too, they've given indications of how they intend to implement classic Zelda songs into new material in different ways than they've done before, not just arranged versions of familiar tracks, but implementing familiar tracks into other songs, including the infamous thing with the Skyward Sword trailer where the song is where Zelda's Lullaby plays backwards. They're going to be doing stuff like that and other things, and I don't know, it just sounds very fascinating that they're going to be doing this, and it should lend to a very original and amazing soundtrack, but with a lot of nods in there in a different way than we've seen before. It definitely seems like a very professional soundtrack. And going along with where they said that they might be doing folk music, they've indicated that there will be a jazz theme for the Magmas, which is a little badger mole type species. Now that's not folk music, but I think that maybe that's kind of what they were alluding to, and at least maybe that's what I was thinking, and that could indicate that we're going to see a lot of different theme songs for different characters and areas, and really give these different cultural or genre feels to different parts of the game. Because in the Silent Realm, which I guess is the renamed version of the Siren world that they've mentioned before, you go around in these twisted mirror versions of areas you've been to before. A long time before. Apparently the Silent Realm might be encountered way later in the game. I'm not sure about that one. But the guardians who chase you down in that world activate, there's like this creepy industrial music playing, like almost like you might hear in Silent Hill. So it's definitely going to be like these different musical themes meshing together into different areas to make the game very unique, and I think that's really cool. Additionally, there was a trailer of the upgrade system that we've heard about, which is awesome because I really think that's going to be one of the major high points of this game, collecting all these items and getting upgrades for them, these worthwhile additions to your arsenal. And what they basically indicated is you just collect these little items, almost like Phantom Hourglass or Spirit Tracks, where you collect, treasures. And like in Spirit Tracks, you could trade them for train parts. Well, in this case, you get the items, and then you need a certain quantity plus some rupees, and you can make new equipment. And it looks great. I'm interested in seeing what kinds of upgrades there are and how far they go with it, because that's just going to be a lot of fun. Of course, they've shown new areas. I can't really describe most of them to you. You should really watch some of the videos that I'm going to be linking to in the description in the news posts, because they're really, really interesting videos, and you get little hints of little bits of the soundtrack in the background of some of them. It just looks amazing, like it's going to be an amazing experience going through these areas, and they look massive too. And I don't even know how many of them were really dungeons. Didn't look like a lot of them were. So definitely the overworld is going to be a compelling experience. And they've also shown a lot of new items because, we've seen the double claw shot, which is interesting. There's indication that they're going to have a lot of stuff from Twilight Princess because they have the place where you go to where the magmas are is called Elden Volcano. So clearly there's going to be these Twilight Princess tie-ins, which is interesting. It's almost like they may have planned this game a little bit when they made Twilight Princess, or maybe they're just trying to make us think that. But along with the items, they've also given an indication that there's going to be a bunch of the Minish Cap items in this game. You get a digging item, which doesn't seem to do a lot of interesting stuff. It seems mostly like a shovel replacement, and it looks like the mole mitts, okay? It's probably exactly the mole mitts. And additionally, you have the we saw the freaking gust jar. Some people were calling it a fire hose, but it's got the colors of the gust jar, it's designed like the gust jar, and it sucks in and shoots out air. Come on, that's the gust jar. So, given that the Minish Cap director is helping with Skyward Sword, that's kind of interesting. Is he just, putting all his stuff in there, And, yeah, that's interesting. And they've also shown that you land after falling from the sky with a parachute, which is weird because I thought the Skyward Sword was supposed to help you land, but, whatever. It's also indicated that it's used like the Deku Leaf in the Wind Waker. It's a gliding item in normal gameplay as well. Of course, they've shown new enemies and bosses. We've seen P-Hats, we've indicated some of the monsters we've seen before are bosses, and the bosses just look crazy and interesting. I'm excited to see what they'll be like in the game, especially with the boss challenges in there. And they've also shown this new character. They haven't explained anything about her, but it looks like a Sheikah girl. Almost looks a little like Tetra, but obviously that's freaking impossible. And you just see Link running towards her, so I wonder what that'll mean. As for the Four Swords stuff, they've, we know that Four Swords was going to be available on the, the DSi and 3DS shops for free. So, that's just cool on its own, but they've told us that they're going to be adding to the game, too. There will be new levels, even. And that's just awesome, because, that's just more content to an already free re-release of an old game that not a lot of people got to play. And there's going to be upgrades that you can get, like the Master Sword and the Hurricane Spin or something, that are unlocked in some of these new areas. And there's also going to be a single-player mode, so you can play through it if you don't have friends to play with, and it's going to function like Four Swords Adventures, in which you have all the, you have all the formations, and you can also have one of the other links, if you're playing single-player, stay still, so you can, throw him or whatever. So, yeah, that should be pretty cool. Anyway, I'm really excited about Skyward Sword now. I was before, I was into the game. I've been optimistic about the game and interested in the game and excited. But, now it's really reached, a boiling point. I'm really excited, and I really want to play the game. And it's only about, I think, about 2 months away, roughly. And I'm just pumped. I want to play it now. I'll save, I've talked a lot now about my opinions on this somewhat. But I'll save a lot of my in-depth opinions for the mailbag next week. Be sure to send your questions. I'll give the contact page and email address that you usually send the questions to in the description, just so you know, because I'd like to cover this new news specifically in the next mailbag. I'm going to do the same thing with Four Swords as well. Though I will say that I'm a little disappointed about the new levels, because they've indicated that they're going to be these classic levels, they're going to be based off A Link to the Past, and graphically included, and Link's Awakening, and that disappoints me a little bit, because when I heard new levels, I was really itching to see areas in Four Swords' beautiful art style. But, you know, still, it's new levels, it's still going to be fun, so not too big of a complaint, I guess. Alright guys, that's all I gotta say. Be sure to check out all the news, because I've only covered some of the stuff. There's lots of other details in there that you should check out, and you should watch some of the videos, unless, of course, you know, you're concerned about spoilers. I'll see you guys later.